welcome to your day one of your Reversing Diabetes crash course. My name is Charmaine Dominguez. I am a registered dietitian. I help people reverse diabetes with plant-based eating. So, it is day one and I like to jump straight into it. So, how does a plant-based eating or plant-based diet reverses type 2 diabetes? So, first, let's learn what is type 2 diabetes. So type 2 diabetes is caused by insulin resistance, which we're going to explain later, but it is manifested by its most prominent symptom, which is high blood sugar. And that causes fatigue, frequent urination, extreme thirst, and in more serious cases, it causes neuropathy and even blindness, or it even, in some situation calls for amputation as well. So it's very, very serious, and that's why we really want to focus on reversing diabetes. So, here's two graphs that goes more into detail of what's happening in your body. So insulin is responsible for bringing blood glucose into the body cells, so that your body can use glucose for energy, it can use for bodily functions. So that's what's happening in a healthy body, where insulin is able to bring the blood glucose into different organs, into muscle cells, so the body can use it for energy, they can store it, and they can, use it for the body's good. And it keeps the blood sugar level normal, because it doesn't stay in the blood and it goes to your cells, and that's what's happening in a healthy body. But with type 2 diabetes, what's happening is that insulin is not able to bring the glucose into the muscle cells or organs or your body cells. So you can see that there's a lot of insulin, right? The same amount of insulin, but only a little bit of glucose is going in. And most glucose, most sugar is staying in the blood. And that's what causes high blood sugar in type 2 diabetes. It's this phenomenon called insulin resistance, right? And when insulin resistance happens, the blood glucose are forced to stay in the bloodstream, and that's what causes high blood glucose. And so now let's get to the root of the problem. What causes insulin resistance? Is it the sugar? Is it the insulin? What really causes it? So that's when we take a look inside the cells. And scientists and researchers have found that the build-up of fatty acids, which in other words are fat, inside the cells is what causes the insulin receptors to be less responsive to insulin. So that means that no matter how many insulin are out there, because of these fatty acids in the cells, the insulin receptors are not really responsive to insulin, and that prevents glucose from coming into the cells. So in other words, the buildup of fat inside the cells is what causes insulin resistance. And also I want to highlight a study done by Yale University, which is published in the New England Journal of Medicine, found that the fat cells are highly linked to the fat in the cells are highly linked to the insulin resistance, even in young, healthy individuals. So not just people with diabetes, but even in young, healthy individuals, if there's a lot of fat in the cells, it's highly linked to insulin resistance. So that's just to support what I explained just now. So to make it more simple and easier to understand, an analogy that I always use is a key and lock analogy. And this is from Dr. Neil Barnard. He uses this analogy a lot as well. So imagine that, there's a key and lock. So imagine the key is insulin and the lock is body cells, right? Normally it will work perfectly fine because the key is made for the lock, right? And so let's say if I put some gum in there, if I'm mischievous and I want to put some gum in the lock, right? Does the key and lock still work? No, because there's gum in there, right? So what we need to do here is clean out the gum. And in this case, the gum is fat. That's what's causing the key and lock not to work, right? That's what's causing insulin resistance. So, how do we clean the gum out? How do we clean the fat out of the cells so we can reverse insulin resistance? This is where a plant-based diet comes in. A plant-based diet is full of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes. And there are 3 things why the plant-based eating is super effective in reversing diabetes and lowering blood sugar. First is that it is naturally low in fat. So, because it's low in fat, it's not going to increase the buildup of fatty acids in the cells, right? But it actually will help the body, clean out the fat from the cells. And also because the high fiber, it has soluble fiber, insoluble fiber in all the fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes, it helps lower blood lipids. So it lowers blood lipids, including cholesterol, right? So it's all in the process of, cleaning the fat out of the cells, right? And many plant foods are low in glycemic index. Beans are really low in glycemic index, vegetables, obviously. And those actually help you balance blood sugar as well. So that's 3 factors why it is so effective in cleaning the gum out and, helping you reverse insulin resistance. And I also want to highlight a study that illustrates this. So there's a study that is published in American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and it is a very prestigious scientific journal, and it's published here. So they compared 2 groups. One group is the plant-based group, which is the blue one, and then one is the traditional American Diabetes Association limiting carbs group. So that's the traditional of, counting how many carbs and but still including like animal foods. That's the traditional group. But then there's the plant-based group that there's no portion control or carb counting, but just choosing the right foods, right? And they compared how much their A1C fell. So the red one, which is the traditional carb limiting one, it fell, it's a modest improvement in their A1C. And okay, before I move on, A1C is the average blood glucose, and if it's over 6.4, that means that you have diabetes. And, again, I forgot to mention that these are people that already have diabetes. Both groups of people are people who already have diabetes. So you can see that starting, they're way up there. They're like almost at 7, 8, pretty high, right? So the red group, they started out here and they have a modest improvement, not too bad. But the blue one, you can see that they started out higher, their average is higher, but they ended up way lower in their A1C. So on average, the plant-based group improved their A1C, or the A1C fell by 1.23 points. Versus the traditional group, which is 0.38 points. And that is 3 times more than the traditional group, right? So the plant-based diet is 3 times more effective in lowering A1C. And so this is a very exciting study that has been done to, test out the effectiveness of plant-based diet in lowering blood sugar. And so, all the science, all the analogy is super exciting, right? And, it's, you want to reverse diabetes, you want to do this, but you don't know if you can do plant-based for life, right? That's a lot of people's question or people's queries. So I'm here to tell you, if you're asking me, do you have to eat 100% plant-based forever to be able to reverse diabetes for life? My answer is no, you don't have to be. You don't have to be perfect to be healthy, right? So with my method of reversing diabetes is that, when we're in the reversing stage, we will do, full speed ahead with plant-based because it's super effective for reversing diabetes. But if you choose to, let's say once you reverse diabetes and you want to have like other foods once in a while, that is totally up to you and that's fine. And in my reversing diabetes program is where we help you build your own signature system where you're still able to include those foods once in a while, right? Let's say it's your birthday, it's a special date night, if it's Thanksgiving, or if it's just Saturday night, you can still be flexible, but make this lifestyle sustainable so you're not, you're not depriving yourself if you really want to eat something that's other than plant-based on this lifestyle. So I hope that answered your questions. Let me know if you guys have any questions at all. And if you are having any questions, make sure you reach out to me. And lastly, I want to talk about Betty. She is one of my star clients. She is amazing. And she came to me because she was first diagnosed with diabetes and really wanted to turn this around because her mom also died from diabetes. She tried eating healthy before, but she had a hard time sticking to it, and that's when she reached out to me. And so super, super proud of her. After a month and a half of working with her, her blood sugar were able to most of the time be in the normal range, which is like 95 to 96 before she eats. And then after she eats, which I remember one time, like she wrote that she had like watermelon and papaya and her blood sugar was 116 after she eats. And that's better than most people, right? Because if you don't know, after eating, we want our blood sugar to be under 140, and she is doing way better than that. But anyway, so that's her. She is amazing. So if you too want to reverse your diabetes and do it the right way, and so that you can live life to the full, click the link that I paste here in this description to schedule a free one-on-one clarity call with me to see how I can help. Hope you guys find this helpful, and I'll see you in day 2. Have a good one.